And he wasn't scared of,
10
Frank was a boxer. What is it?
10 seconds. We're just laying color bars on the head of the.
No shit.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, just to digress a little,
Yeah.
I've got to tell you that I never put it in the show, but I had the most hilarious interview with somebody about when I did the Jerry Lewis show about how Wolfie hated Jerry Lewis. There was that myth about the 500 Club and how they got started. Wolfie, Irwin Wolf was the booker at the 500 Club.
Oh, I remember that
him?
prick. Yeah.
He
was prick.
He was one of the worst men alive. When I go back with people about those club days, I can't even imagine how you guys had the energy to go from the Chez Paris to the Riviera to the Copa to the 500 to Vegas. It was constant work, wasn't it? I mean, everybody was always on the road. It seemed like everybody was always working.
I'm going to say something when you get to that.
Okay. Okay. Are we?
Yeah.
My hair all right on the side?
Beautiful.
It usually comes out.
No, it's not. It looks wonderful. Do you want to get dabbed down a little?
No, you don't.
You're fine. You
No.
look good. You don't look
No.
shiny. Great.
When I look
Mhm.
for a shtick, you start to speak, I'm going to be sleeping. Just so you can do a bite now. Roll 'em.
We're rolling.
Mr. Uncle Milty used to wake me up like,
Uncle Milty.
no, wait. Wait till he says
Oh, we're
action. Wait till he says action.
And action.
Uncle Milty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is it? I take the snoozes every time because this is so thrilling. Yes, I'm awake.
Just to change the subject a little bit, I would like to know if you were living in Hollywood in '57 when the man who owned the Macombo died and Frank went in there for his widow and played the week at the Macombo in '57. Were you here at that time? Do you remember that?
Very well. The man that owned it is a man by the name of Charlie Morrison. Now, I go back before that. Here I am talking about myself, but who better to talk about but myself? At the Macombo. Frank did jump in there. And I used to be very popular. No, I used to be the master of ceremonies at the Macombo every Sunday night with the celebrities, and who they wanted to get up, they got up, and I introduced them. We have in the audience so and so and so. Would you take a bow or whatever? And they bowed, and I introduced Larry's mother, Big Star, Mary Martin. First appearance was Mary Martin. First time she was ever in a nightclub. Nobody ever heard of it. And I said, I just found Mary Martin. I didn't. I just found her. I said, I would like to introduce, and I introduced Mary Martin. It's the first appearance. This was at the Macombo in 1940. And that's the first time they ever saw Mary Martin. So I recall that very vividly about Frank doing this at the Macombo for Charlie Morrison.
The reason that I bring that back, or that I get to that, is that by '57, when he did that for Morrison, or Morrison's widow, he was already back. His career was
went up.
way back up.
Yeah, sure.
And I read a wonderful description of that, written back in '59, where the writer said, here are every important person in Hollywood, studio heads, everybody's fighting to get in. They said the waiters paid off the mortgages on their houses. Everybody was getting $100 to like cram in this room.
Right.
And that everybody was sitting elbow to elbow. Somebody who was really not very important is like pushing up against mayor, you know, and that Sinatra reduced them all to just a group of people who just, the way the writer described it, I thought it was beautiful. He said, he became a reflection of everything that they wanted to be. And I'm sure you witnessed that. And maybe you could tell me what was so different about him that made people react that way to him when he performed. I mean.
Well, this is in '57 you're talking about.
Right.
Well, this is after he got over the hump of the problems that he had, and he was way up, a big star. And I think the audience were rooting for him. That was the whole thing. They rooted for him. Besides him being tremendous and great talent, and the king of all the singers, and they wanted to see Frank make it that way.
But men, you know, people have told me that the men would stand on the chairs and scream as much as the women.
This is before Elvis and all that stuff, where they threw their underwear up in there, and the men. The men was just a greater audience as the women, even more. They cheered him because it had a reflection on their own male group, and they loved him. They loved him even not because of the pulling out of a rut and being a success, but they really, if they were in drag, it couldn't have been any stronger. Not from a queer standpoint, but he was a man's man, and they knew he was gutsy, and we all know that he had guts, and he fought for the right things, and which is a great story. Let me deviate, because I've been a deviate for years. 1208, 1209. I count the laughs. The giggles, I don't count. The snickers, these I don't count that. But one of the great incidents that happened in my career, in my life, of knowing the Rat Pack, all of them. Now, I wasn't part of the Rat Pack. I was friends with them all, and I used to get up on the stage. Now, let me show you what I mean. Cut. Now you show the clip. Okay?
Excellent.
Let me show you what I mean. It's over. Now, those days really were fun days. We were so relaxed. Everything was ad lib. Everything was impromptu. We could do anything we want. Nothing suggestive of anything dirty. You know that. And I think the viewers will know that too when they see this. But we loved what we did. And when we heard an audience be part of our show, and we identified with them, it was like a party. While I'm talking about a party, I just thought of an anecdote that really happened, or an incident. Dean Martin in cut. I'm going to do a pickup here. What's the date now? Hans?
Oh, today is the 17th.
No, not today.
The date you're thinking of?
No, yeah, the birthday party.
The birthday party, okay.
67.
67, yeah, but wait a minute. It was his 50th birthday.
But it wouldn't be 67 because Marilyn Monroe was not alive in 67. It
Maybe
has to
No,
be-
we didn't say in 67.
Yeah, oh, so, because it's not 1967 we're talking about. Right?
Maybe 1957.
It may be 57, I think that's when it is.
How did you figure that out, how old Dean Martin was?
Well, if he was born in 1917,
He was born in 1917.
he would have been 50 and 67.
Right.
But Marilyn Monroe was not alive in 1967.
No, she wasn't.
No, she's
She died
dead.
in 1963.
She's dead 35 years. I'm trying to...
Maybe it was his 40th birthday.
Maybe it wasn't his 50th birthday, maybe it was his 40th birthday, because that would work out, it'd be
Right.
1957.
57, maybe.
And I have a
1957.
lot of footage of Vegas with Eddie Fisher
Right.
and Elizabeth Taylor
Well,
in 57.
you want me to tell the story now?
Yeah, sure.
Where did I leave off? Let me start
It was
cold.
Dean Martin's birthday.
This incident that I'm thinking of was one of the highlights of my relationship with the gang, with the pack. I think it was I don't know what the date was, but Dean Martin had a birthday party, and Frank threw the party because the Rat Pack were playing there at the Sands, and I was invited to the party for, I think it was Dean Martin's 40th birthday, or 41 or 40th birthday, and I was invited, and I was to open at the, what's the place I said?
The Flamingo.
Yeah. I was to open at the Flamingo 2 days before the party that Frank threw, and the Rat Pack were at the Sands at the time. He threw a birthday party celebration for Dino. Now I'm in town. I'm about to open, but I got into town 2 days before. Now, if I can recall, just let me see. Folks that are watching, talk to each other just for a minute. Let me think. Which place? If I recall, oh yeah, Eddie Fisher, who at that time was courting Elizabeth Taylor, was appearing at the Desert Inn. Now Sinatra invited Marilyn Monroe to the party, and he flew her in his plane. He didn't fly the plane. She flew in, and her arms were terribly tired, and it's the worst joke I ever heard. I'm sorry. Anyway, she was invited to the party, and she was invited to the party by the Rat Pack were playing at the Sands by Frank. She was Frank Sinatra's guest, and she flew in, and she stayed at the Sands, and he made a reservation for her for the party, and I was to appear at the Flamingo, so I got in 2 days before. Very repetitious the way I'm speaking now, but this is for nothing, so I can say anything I want. I'm not getting paid for this, you know. I mean it. Oh, pardon me. Anyway, I got in 2 days before. Now, Eddie Fisher is at the
Desert Inn.
let me recap this. Eddie Fisher was appearing and headlining at the Desert Inn. The Rat Pack were at the Sands, and I was to open the next 2 days at the other place. And black tie affair. But in those days, we had 2 shows at night, one at 8 o'clock and one at midnight. And the Rat Pack were sensational. They were just a big hit. But I was at my hotel when all of a sudden I got a call from Eddie Fisher, who was at the Desert Inn, and he said, Milton, I'm invited tonight. Liz and myself were invited tonight to go to the celebration of Dean Martin's birthday at the Sands. But unfortunately, I have to do a show. So there's nobody to take Liz there. Would you do me a favor and be her escort that night? I said, well, sure, of course. Taylor, gorgeous. But it was his woman. I wouldn't fool around. Did I say that? No. Well, anyway, I said yes. All of a sudden, about 15 minutes later, I got a call from Sinatra. He says, Marilyn is down here as our guest for the Dino's party. Would you do me a favor? And I kind of had a feeling, what's coming here? We have to do a show, but we're going to celebrate it, his birthday party, after the show, or between shows. But we have to do a show, which is a repetition of what Eddie Fisher said to me about Elizabeth. He said to me, would you do me a favor? I said, anything, Frank. How much? No. I said, what's the favor, Frank? No, I expected this. He said, I anticipated that you might say that. Coincidentally, it happened. So he said, Marilyn is here as our guest, or my guest. Would you escort Marilyn to the party tonight? Because I can't do it, because I'll be on a stage and I'll be doing a show. Now I'm betwixt and between, a little bewildered. Now I heard from Eddie Fisher about Liz Taylor. That was the romance. It's before he married her. And I said to Frank, of course, I'd be very glad to. Well, now what I got in mind, I'm picturing this. I'm painting it in my mind. I'm going to be with Elizabeth Taylor, one of the most delicious-looking women in my whole life, a woman I've ever seen. And I'm going to be with Marilyn Monroe. Two sex objects that tore down mountains. You could go, huh? One is blonde, the other is brunette, and they look gorgeous. Well, I'm walking around very proudly to myself within my mind. So I pick up Liz at the Desert Inn. Then I drive to the Sands to pick up Marilyn and go in. Now, there's so many paparazzis there and people yelling, and it's jammed, and you couldn't get in. And the entrance that we made, this is the blackout, the punchline, the entrance that we made was spectacular to me. Now, I have Liz on one arm and Marilyn Monroe on it, the two greatest sex objects in the whole world. And I'm walking in, and with the women, with Liz and Marilyn, and the whole audience is standing up. Oh, they're walking, and as we walk in, they're all standing up. Ray, one of Bravo's, kudos, they're yelling and all that. I had the nerve, or chutzpah, if you know what chutzpah means, that means nerve, to say, get this line, dumb. I said it accidentally, but I must have meant it mentally. As I'm carrying the two girls on the arm, we're walking down, the audience is standing up and cheering. These two gorgeous women stand, and they're standing up, and the applause is tremendous. I turned to them both. I said, as we're walking, I said, who says, let me pick that up again. As we're walking down the aisle to go to our front table, which was reserved. They're cheering, and I had the nerve to say, I blurted it out. I said, listen to this. Look at this. And I turned to Liz and Marilyn. I said, I can't get that word out. Oh, I know what I said. They're cheering. No. Hammy. Very hammy. A Berle ham. A Milton Berle ham. I said, who says nobody knows me? I'm talking about myself. When I'm walking in with the two greatest female stars in the world, I wanted to take the bows. Who says nobody knows me? And they went, what? So they gave me a look. And and I'm going, thank you, thank you. I'm taking bows for the three of us. But I was spunky, and it came out ad lib, but it came out so hammy. But.
And how was the party?
The party was sensational. But here's what. We all went, I took Marilyn and Liz to the first dinner show. The party was supposed to be between the shows, but so we had to stay for two shows. Then Eddie came over, right? Fisher, and joined Liz, and the party was held later they cleared the room, the Copa Lounge, not the lounge,
The Copa room.
the Copa room, and put the party in there. And we didn't get out till 7 in the morning.
And is it true?
I don't know how good that is.
It's good, it's good. That was also around the time that you became involved with JFK, right? Were you involved from the beginning with Frank and working for John F. Kennedy?
Oh, sure.
So you were part of the Hollywood
I was very
connection.
close to Jack Kennedy. And
Did you ever go to the parties that Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis hosted to get Kennedy introduced to the Hollywood community? Are there any stories about that? Because Janet told me that not a lot of people in Hollywood knew John Kennedy at
No,
the
they
time
didn't.
that he started to run.
they didn't know. They didn't know.
How did you go about getting people to know him, introducing him?
Well, it's according to what year you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking 60, when he begins the run, when Peter and Pat Lawford are very active in his campaign and Frank is working on it. I'm just not sure of how you guys all did that. I mean, I know about the pre-inaugural gala, but how much work went into that year that he was, right up until the time he got the nomination?
Well, I got to include my late wife, Ruth Cosgrove, who was very involved in politics, and she was a staunch Democrat,
Like Frank.
straight down the line. And she made the tour when Sammy Cahn wrote the song
High Hopes.
High Hopes. She made the tour with the girls. And she did so much promos and such publicity. And
The tour with what girls? With the Kennedy girls?
no, with the Cher girls. The ones we have a thing out here called Cher.
Right?
And
Barbara Rush and
yeah,
Janet
oh,
and
yeah, sure.
Jeannie Martin, all
yeah,
the
sure,
Cher girls.
Jeannie Martin and all that. And they were like chorus girls, but they sang the song and they danced and everything. And they sang the lyrics. And I became very friendly with JFK, not through Frank Sinatra, but personally. I don't know if you recall the last auction last year of JFK's estate, and she held the auction, his late wife, Onassis. What's her first name?
Jackie.
She held the auction, and if you recall, or the audience recall, that auction, and they saw it or heard about it. In 1962, when he got the nomination, I gave him a present, JFK, and it's the humidor. Do you remember it?
Right, I
Now, all right. So I gave him a humidor, and at that time, we were on good terms with Cuba, Castro, until the thing happened with the whole thing.
Right.
And I filled the humidor with Cuban cigars. Now, the humidor was auctioned off just this last year, and I wanted to get it back as a memento. And the bidding was done on the phone, Sotheby's, from New York and California. And I went up to $175,000 to get it back. But what I wanted to do when I got it back was to present it to the JFK library, return it. But gentlemen that outbid me, and I don't know if the viewers right now would know, but they auctioned it off and they got $574,000 for the humidor. Personalized. I had signed it, JFK signed it, and that's what it went for. I tried to bid on it. I bid at $175,000, and that's as high as, but he outbid me. It went to $574,000, $500,000. And I recall that very muchly. It was something. I gave it to him in 1962, and I think nobody knew that he even ever smoked cigars. Now it's a boom. Everybody's smoking cigars because of the cigarette scare. But I started him. And I myself have never smoked a cigarette in my life. Now I'm talking about me, which is my favorite subject. I don't know what beer tastes like. I never had any liquor. So I'm a teetotaler, and I never touched a drop of liquor. I never smoked a cigarette. And I've been smoking cigars. This is not a promo, this is not a plug, since I was 12 years old.
That's amazing.
So I started, I think, JFK, Jack Kennedy, I started him on cigars.
Well, you know, with a reputation of the Rat Pack, how could you ever be around those guys and be sober? It must have been torture.
Well, Frank and Dino, and they drank pretty good. They drank pretty good. God love them. They drank good. Do what they want. Don't tell them what to do. It's their own life. And Peter Lawford,
Sammy, too.
Sammy,
Wild man.
they worked hard and they played very hard. I did the same thing, but in my own way of doing it. I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to talk about myself. Let's talk about the pack, about the other guys. I'll tell you, this is like a non sequitur. It's just a thought that came to my mind. I think that the success of the Rat Pack, besides loving what they did, making people laugh, and liking each other, and getting along with each other, fun. They wanted to have fun within their own life. There was something that I pegged, that I figured why it was such a success and why they were so good at what they did during the Rat Pack days. And the word is dedication. They were dedicated to their art. Every one of them that were in the Rat Pack were dedicated to their art. Maybe they went different ways, but when it came theatrically speaking, they were dedicated to it. And that's the secret of the whole thing, of anybody who's in show business. If they're not dedicated and want to get someplace and just want to stay at the bottom of the pack, I don't mean the Rat Pack, you got to be dedicated. You got to.
They made it look very easy.
End of the roll. Just made it.
They made it very easy.
They made it look very easy.